Good morning and welcome to another episode of the Star Wars Minute. It's your daily podcast in which we analyze, we scrutinize, and we celebrate Solo, a Star Wars story, 1 minute at a time. I'm Alex Robinson from alexrobinson.fun.
I'm Pete the Retailer from PeteTheRetailer.com.
And I am Katharine Coldiron from kcoldiron.com.
Welcome to the show, Katharine. Closing out All-Star Week with a debut appearance. Glad you're here.
Yes.
I am so excited to be here.
And you, the one of the less frequented paths to getting on the show is talking up the show on a show that I listen to. So that's if anybody can manage that, then it's a good kind of pathway to getting on the show. So
it's a good point.
So yes, thanks for being a fan and mentioning us in loftier places. And welcome to the show.
Thank you.
We are here to talk about minute 115 of Solo, a Star Wars story. Minute 115 starts off with Dryden Voss turning on his Cuso Pitar's monomolecular energy cords.
Sure.
And it ends a minute later with Han Solo contradicting Dryden Voss's claim that once you are in Crimson Dawn, you never want to leave. So,
like the Hotel California.
Yeah,
exactly.
They should have just started playing that. Yeah,
steely knives, but they just can't kill Han Solo. Han Solo is a bad fighter. Here he is with a gun, and he's going with a guy with a knife, and he's like, "Let me run up really close to him and get into a fight with him."
A couple weeks ago, anything bad to say about Han Solo? Like, you know, the guest and I were talking about, like, yeah, Han Solo's not a good smuggler. And you were like, no, he is. He's the best. And you were just, you know.
It's true.
And now
Guilty
you're
as
all
charged.
like, hey, he's not a good fighter. So you want me to agree with you or not? I'm not sure.
I contain
I don't think
multitudes.
he's a good fighter. I mean, I think he's a distance guy. That's why he has a blaster that sounds like an explosion, as opposed to, you know, a punch that sounds like an explosion, which is more, you know, Indiana Jones.
Right.
It's more of an Indiana. And he did just get his gun in this movie, so maybe he doesn't realize that guns are better to shoot from far away as opposed to.
Right. He has to have
I guess
that
we're
moment
lucky
of
he didn't try to hit him with the gun.
Distance weapon. I like this. Look, I can shoot from all the way over here.
It took him 30 years to try Chewbacca's gun,
I know, what the hell? What? Really? You never tried the crossbow? And wasted opportunity.
Yeah.
Yes.
Although I'll throw in a no prize explanation that maybe Chewbacca had just made some modifications. Maybe he had just kind of upgraded it somehow. He had put in a new processor or something, and Han was like, "Oh, let me try that." He had tried the old one, but now this is the new souped up version. He's like, "Oh, let me try that." That doesn't satisfy me, like, and I just said it. So
that's good headcanon, I'm gonna say, but it's also kind of reaching just a bit.
Yeah. If you want those no prizes, you gotta push it sometimes.
Keep trying.
My no prize answer is going to be that while in Carbon Freeze, Han Solo suffered some neurological damage, which accounts for A, his behavior in Return of the Jedi, and B, the fact that he doesn't remember a lot of things, like the fact that he's shot Chewbacca's gun many times, and Chewbacca's just like, no, he's getting old, and I'll let him think he's never shot it before, you know.
Right.
So must be
my
sad
no prize.
for
No, wait, I got a no prize. Okay.
He
did not want to even find out whether Chewbacca's weapon is better or worse than his blaster. And because he suspected all along that Chewbacca was really the muscle between them and didn't want to believe that. So it was like, just staying away from it.
Yeah. Once he shot it, he knew he could never go back. So he's just like, I'm just going to let that one lie.
Then he got more risky after that. He was just like, what's the point? Chewbacca's gun is better than mine.
I'm going to go let my son stab me and fall off this bridge.
Fall off a bridge. Alex, did you have more information about the glowing hand knives?
Well, in the Solo official guide on page 74, we see a little bit about them. They are sharp-edged. It's probably a good thing. This is something fascinating I learned.
Wait, you definitely needed a book to tell you that it was sharp-edged. Definitely.
Well, to confirm it. The blades have been designed to fit his humanoid fingers and thumb claw. And lo and behold, Maybe you can see it here in this picture. He has like a.
Oh,
It looks like just long finger, like a long fingernail, but I guess he's supposed to have a claw on his thumb, like an iguanodon.
I looked him up, and he is a near human, which I didn't, because my husband and I were arguing about why he turns white after he dies, which I thought was in this minute, but I guess you guys have a different minute counting system, and. The explanation for that was not forthcoming on Wikipedia, but he's a near human. I was like, oh, okay. And I read about the thumb claw in that entry, which I skimmed, did not read all the way through.
Some of these characters have way more Wikipedia than they deserve. I mean, Dryden Voss is a good character. He's the main antagonist of a movie. Sure, he could have a page, but then some of the stuff, it's just like I don't really need that right now.
Well, my understanding is that the Crimson Dawn is a lot like it's gone into a lot more in stuff that I haven't watched much of, like the Clone Wars and so forth. And that makes me think that his whole deal is explored more kind of in places that I haven't gone. Yeah.
We'll just assume that. I think it's funny that they went from the K. Williams, what was the Omar? Right. What was his name? Michael. He was originally going to be the bad guy, and they had all this design of him. He was going to look like a lion or something like that. And then they brought in Paul Bettany as like a last minute replacement, and they're just like, I don't know, put some Star Trek lines on his face and give him like a little thumb or something. Like it was so
I wonder if there are cut scenes that feature his thumb, because it's barely noticeable in the. I didn't know about his thumb until you guys just pointed it out, and so. I wonder if they made a deal, like made a bigger deal out of it. Yesterday, are there any wide shots of him using his knives?
You mean like, well, he's fighting Han.
Right, but like, are they like fighting? But I'm saying, could the knives be a digital addition after the fact when he was originally going to be fighting with his thumb claws?
No, I mean, I think the way that the camera pans over, like I think the shots are clearly designed to show off the knives as opposed to showing his thumb. And also he was holding them like this, which means the thumb would have been like behind.
Yeah.
Instead of being out, it would have been in, but I don't know.
I like to think the thumbs were included by director Ron Howard as a tribute to some other famous thumbs from someone he worked with. So anyway,
well, that's interesting. I want to go back and I'm going to scrub through a little bit and see if they went with the net, because that could be a holdover too, from if Michael K. Williams is going to be a lion man, he's a mean old lion. He could have had thumb claws, and this whole fight could have been with thumb claws. And then they're like, well, we have the whole fight staged out. We got to give Dryden Voss thumb claws, I guess. And then they're like, well, you know what? It didn't look right. Could we digitally add in some knives that just look like thumb claws, kind of? I
mean, how much of a mess do you think the movie was in at the end of production? How much of a mess did they have to clean up in post-production is really the question you're asking.
Yeah. I think I'll be asking that for a long time.
Yeah, we all will, Pete. We all will.
Yeah.
I would be disappointed if they had Michael K. Williams as a lion man, and rather than using his own natural built-in claws, he had to pick up a knife. That would seem kind of like redundant.
But he's near human. I mean, presumably he wants to use human tools.
Dryden Voss, or so you think he would have just been exactly the same, except he would have been a lion man instead of a Star Trek guy?
I mean, my cynical self says yes, because you can sell those knife things at various Star Wars boutiques.
All over the country, those Star Wars boutiques.
I meant, at Disneyland or at conventions or whatever. Like, it's great. It's great cosplay stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
But I don't know. I mean, I have to say the whole Dryden Voss situation is disappointing to me, because every time I see a room like that, I really want Werner Herzog. Like, I want Werner Herzog to be in that room conveying complete despair and destruction. And instead we have Paul Bettany. I mean, come on. Like, just bums me out.
Not a fan of Paul Bettany, or just not?
No,
in
I
this?
like Paul Bettany just fine. I just like his menace is nothing compared to an ancient German director who has nothing to lose.
Right.
And like that's what I want. That's the energy that I want out of my villain.
Yeah. How do you feel about the other principals, Alden Ehrenreich and Amelia Clark, in the film?
I think they're both really poorly cast. Amelia Clark is incredible, but she's far too intense for this part, in my opinion. And I think if they'd gotten someone a little lighter, with a little sort of a lighter energy, then I think it would have been better.
I mean, lighter in tone, not.
You're talking about the wig?
I'm not talking about the wig. I mean, she's bringing like Daenerys murder energy to this part.
Mm-hmm.
And like, yeah, she's sad, and yeah, she's been a slave, and now she's the head of a scary gang, but like she comes across as like, you know, the Queen of Dragons, and instead she just needs to be like not that scary.
Mm-hmm.
I've gone on record many times as saying that Alden is just like, he looks like Joe Don Baker to me, and
Totally.
Good pull.
I can never. I just can't see Han Solo that way. And I also keep thinking, like, I just watched the rest of the Stranger Things season, and I was thinking Joe Keery, Steve Harrington has just like perfect Han Solo energy. He could have nailed that part to the wall. So
he's the guy who looks like John Ralphio. Is that the guy you're talking about? I haven't watched Stranger Things since season.
I mean, no,
2.
but yes.
Okay.
Close enough.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. Although he was, how old is he now, and when would this come out? But yeah.
He's 30.
It seems
so
like
he would have been fine.
Wow.
Yeah,
He's 30? Sheesh.
Wow. It seems like there's a handful of adequate what ifs for this role. But it's always going to be interesting. And, you know, the good news is we're rapidly approaching the era when we can just kind of digitally make it whoever you want in the movie.
Oh, I hate that.
Yeah.
Not into that.
Hopefully Harrison Ford will go the Brando route and have himself they do a 3D scan of him so that they can put him in
right.
In whatever after he's
that was really not where I thought you were going with the Brando route.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, before he died, he had himself they did a 3D scan of Marlon Brando so that they could use a
right.
And then James Dean goes and gets the first digital part. It's not fair, I tells you.
Brando was in the first digital starring part. I mean, they used the digital Brando in Superman Returns. And they used, they made digital Tarkin and Leia, and
that's true.
So that James Dean movie is long rumored, but it hasn't come out yet. So we'll see. Somebody's going to beat him to the. You know what they got to do? They're going to do like, who is it? The Asylum, who make all like the cheap knockoffs of. They're going to come back and do they're going to do it first with somebody else. They're going to do like who's like Jeff Conway or somebody who was like popular enough, but like is available for their likeness is available for cheap, and they're going to make a digital version of that person to star in the movie, and they're going to brush it out before the James Dean.
Okay, but have you seen the special effects that are done by the Asylum? Like, it would have to be sort of a bobblehead on a stick figure.
Totally.
Their special effects are garbage. Yeah. It would not look. Yeah.
But
you wrote a book about Ed Wood, so you know what you're talking about.
You know bad effects when you see them.
I do.
Yes. So Kira then does a triple cross because she jumps in with her sword, doing that. What's that? What's that martial art they do? Yeah, Terraskazi. Is that what it is?
Terraskazi. Yeah.
Terraskazi, and knocks Guns Han out of his hand, and seemingly has betrayed her one-time high school boyfriend. To
which really makes sense. I mean, if you're, I don't know. I mean, there's something to be said for the Hollywood star-crossed lovers aspect, but like, if you're at your job and your high school boyfriend is suddenly kind of interfering, it's it's logical for her to just like shut that down.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But
yeah.
I think the romance is forced, so you're not going to hear any objection from me.
Yeah.
Forced.
What do you mean? You think Palpatine is pulling the strings all alone?
Somehow.
Yeah. Conspiracy theory.
I shall follow your romance with great interest.
No, like script wise, it's forced, not in universe forced.
Got it. Yeah.
It is, yes. I think basically, there's, I don't know if it was their internal monologue saying that they have to have a love story to this, or if it's the studio saying they have to, but like, it seems like, oh, we have to have a love story to go on with this. And it's,
That's not what bothers me about it, because I feel like it could be interesting in the sequel that will never happen to kind of have Han Solo working against the Crimson Dawn while she's the head of the Crimson Dawn. Like that would be cool to have them kind of continue to clash when they previously had this great love that was kind of never resolved. But I didn't understand why they loved each other in the first place, aside from just familiarity. And I didn't understand why, like I didn't have any evidence that their love was kind of still around after he came back, which means to me that it's just a sort of a romance of convenience in terms of the script. And if I'd had kind of more, little bits where they're proven to be alike in some way, that would have been cool. But instead they just kind of were like, they're in love, deal with it. And okay, fine.
They're from the same town. What do you want? That's what it is. It's
Lady Proxima. Yeah. Pickings were not great there on Coriella. I feel like it was almost like who wrote the script? Which one of the Kasdan boys?
Didn't they write it together?
Yeah,
Lawrence
and John.
Right.
Lawrence.
Jake's out.
Jake's out.
But I almost feel like it's like, okay, they wanted to do a heist thing, they wanted to do a Western, they wanted to do a noir, and if you're going to do a noir, you have to have like a woman with a troubled past. So they kind of like had, like, if they wanted to do a noir, they had to have some level of romance in it. But yeah, I guess not the most organic feeling thing in the world.
Well, so speaking of the relationship and speaking of John Kasdan, he did at one point tweet out like 52 things about Solo in lieu of a commentary track. And one of the things, number 50, we're almost at the end here, Kira's betrayal / departure. Now this is coming up kind of like, I think they're talking about a later version of this same betrayal departure. But it was in the DNA of Solo from the very beginning. She was always intended to be more complicated and ambiguous than Han, at least at this point in their lives. So the tricky thing to pull off is you're constantly weighing how invested you want the audience to be in that relationship, with properly setting up the choice she makes in the end. And again, this is always intended to be just the first and second acts of their story. The third act, the resolution of Han and Kira, has yet to be told.
Yeah, I smell he murders her because he has to take out the Crimson Dawn in the future. Sorry.
I think Dark. Wouldn't it be the kind of thing where he needs to in order to do it, but then can't, and then something bad happens? I don't know.
I mean, I feel like we've covered that ground a little bit in this movie.
Yeah.
Not quite, but sort of. And yeah, I'm also, I'm thinking in terms of the Western, where the idea that the hero can't murder someone is unusual. Usually he does.
Right. I think he's going to do it. He can't. He hesitates, and Chewbacca just comes in like guns blazing and just obliterates her.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect ending.
And he just throws his guns down, and he's like, "I'll be in the car."
When you held your hands out in that way, I thought you were going to say he was going to pull her
arms out. Rip her arms out.
And then she'll come back with spider arms, robot arms.
Oh, maybe that's how Lady Proxima,
She wound up a worm.
She ran into Chewbacca. He pulled all of her arms off.
My version of the story is going to be that after Han and Leia break up, after he goes rogue, after Ben Solo goes rogue, that's when he goes back to and Tomcat's around with Kira. Yeah. So
after
she
Leia
gets in
Han split up,
the Rathtar smuggling business.
His black book. Yeah. And he was like, "Hey, Kira, how you been? Just thinking about you."
Calls up Jenny. He calls up Kira.
Jenny,
and those are the only two. Those are the only ones he's got in there.
what's the other Shoshana? What was the other the one that was not really
the
his ex-wife
comic.
or whatever? Yeah.
Yeah. Shoshana Solo.
Well, speaking of the fate of some of the female characters in this movie, this is a stretch. The Jade Dancer, the dancing goddess. Sorry, I keep getting the name wrong. First, I'm like, oh, it's the Jade Goddess. I'm like, no, wait, it's the green goddess. No, that's a salad that I ate. No, it's the dancing goddess. There you go. The dancing goddess, which I know, we were just talking about the masthead of Zim, which is one of the skull in the background that was distracting me. That got destroyed. I didn't realize it got destroyed. I think it was just kind of like a, worm tongue kind of. Once the thing was destroyed, I was like, what? Where am I? What? How did I get in the movie theater? But the dancing goddess, I definitely noticed, and I noticed that it got destroyed. It's the kind of the jade statue of a humanoid shape with big kind of long legs. It looks good. Speaking of Brando, it looks kind of almost like it's made out of kryptonite. And it's, no matter how, reading about it out loud will always sound ridiculous, because it's like, the dancing goddess was an idol of the Godowan people and was said to give great fortune. At one point, Barpotamus Drebble acquired it.
Barpotamus Drebble.
That's a great Star Wars name.
Drebble acquired it. However, it was stolen from him and wound up in the collection of Dryden Voss. But then the Legends tab also has ridiculous, the Legends tab then starts to involve, it really is it's almost like a greatest hits of things that I like to talk about. It was retrieved by Boshek in return for paid debts to Prince Caesar. And Jabba stole it on a visit to Godo and stored it in his most likely townhouse. Most likely town. We don't hear about Jabba's townhouse.
Wow.
After his
Peter
death,
Tear.
Doda Bodanoido robbed the townhouse and took the goddess with him.
That's a Rhodian character.
It's the Rhodian, the oboists.
From Jabba's
Doda
palace,
Bodanoido plays the oboe. He looks like Greedo.
Very musical name. Almost sounds like he's scat singing when they name him.
At some point prior to the Battle of Endor, Lando Calrissian won the Dancing Goddess in a game of cards. Claimed to have them in his possession since his days as Baron Administrator of Cloud City, so it's possible that the one owned by Jabba was a fake. So who knows?
Possible.
Sounds like the Maltese Falcon.
A little bit, yeah. It's kind of an all-purpose
Millennium Falcon. It's called the Millennium Falcon.
Maltese Falcon.
Look, I know I'm a girl, but I know the difference between the Maltese Falcon and the Millennium Falcon.
But it is kind of an all-purpose MacGuffin. It looks like they used it a lot in various stories for a while in Legends.
So we don't know if this was the real one that was destroyed or whether it was the one that they sold us back in Cairo. That was the real.
Right, exactly.
That was the real.
We just scrape it with something. We can figure it out.
Wrap it in newspaper.
Anyone have one of those knives that we can?
And it gets destroyed here, so it would be interesting if they then, after the fact, they found out that it's a fake. That would be good. So I'm going to put that in my little data bank. That's going to be part of my Boshek story, maybe. I know, he's long dead by now. No, it's not even, this is before. He's not even anywhere near dead. He's probably also a young smuggler trying to make his way in the galaxy right now. Boom, okay. It's part of my Boshek story. He's on the trail of the green goddess. Nope. Dancing goddess, damn. And he tracks it to the yacht and goes to get it, but he finds out not only is it destroyed, but that one was a fake. So now he's got to go get the real one. Okay. I'm saying that out loud.
So he has to go into the stomach of the Sarlacc to find out where whether that's the real one or the fake one.
Right.
I wish they in that scene in the Book of Boba Fett when they showed him in the stomach of the Sarlacc, it would have had all these various MacGuffins. It lost Luke Skywalker's hand. It would have had the green dancing goddess. All these things.
Right. Oh, I thought you just meant other not even Star Wars ones, just
like the Ark of the Covenant and the briefcase from Pulp Fiction and
totally
Rosebud.
Mm-hmm.
That's all the. I have a question. Have you guys talked about the Mandalorian armor that's in the background?
We mentioned it, but if you have any additional information, we'd love to hear it.
I don't. I just Like it took a while to kind of get a shot of the room where I was like, okay, those angles are definitely the helmet, and the antenna is like Boba Fett's, but it's like, and then my husband and I had an argument about whether there should be those antenna on all of the Mandalorian armor or whether there's anyway. And I was wondering if it's there as a kind of battle trophy or if it's there because Beskar is worth so much money.
In the visual guide,
please,
I have here
the official guide or the.
Oh yes, this is the official one.
Okay,
this is the official one, except no substitutes.
Because I bought one on the street outside of the theater, and I don't think it might be official.
It says it's a near complete set of Old Republic era Mandalorian Rally Master armor.
Rally Master.
Rally Master. I'm not sure what that means, and it obviously doesn't provide us. And obviously, it's pre-Beskar, probably, right? Was Beskar, that wasn't a thing until Mandalorians, right?
Well,
until the TV show came out. I don't remember it ever coming up before. But
I mean, in theory, that retroactively, it would have been Beskar. Isn't Beskar an ancient thing?
I was going to say, is it pre-Galactic Republic or pre-Republic? Because
it says pre-Old Republic.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That is old.
Long time.
So maybe it's just made out of like wood or something.
Straw.
Yeah.
Old Republic era.
Oh, Old Republic, not
Mandalorian.
Old Republic,
So, Old Republic is the prequels is Old Republic, right?
Oh, right. High Republic.
I thought it was older than that.
High Republic is the oldest, right? I don't know. I think it's a wide term. It's a wide term.
I mean, this question is for people who played Knights of the Old Republic too much.
Yeah, that's true. There were knights,
which is not me.
Katharine, while we were making negotiations for you to appear on the show, you said you were you love talking about Jedi lore. Can you elaborate a bit more on what that exactly entails?
Well, I don't know if I should because Pete might hang up and storm off.
Oh boy!
No, you're the guest. I'll just politely, hang out. I'll stick my thumbs in my ears or something.
The stuff I love is the principles by which a Jedi lives and the ideas behind, whether a Jedi is a monk or not, whether the dark side and the light side are actually opposed to each other, or whether you can integrate them and be a great Jedi, whether, the lore stuff, like The Last Jedi it makes me cry every time I watch it. And I'm not a crier. Like it was a 3 hanky thing, that scene when Yoda talks about failure. And I just like, that's the stuff for me. Part of this is that I'm fascinated by the way that Joseph Campbell is integrated into the Star Wars story. And there's kind of not a lot of room for the Han Solo type of fan in the Joseph Campbell vision of Star Wars. I just I'll never get over it that the hero shot for Luke Skywalker is the 2 sons and then he dies with the 2. I cry. It's ridiculous. So that's kind of where I'm at as a Star Wars fan. And I remember after The Last Jedi came out, I belonged to a great Star Wars fan group on Facebook that I just loved. It brought me happiness every day. And the stuff that they said about that movie made me have to leave. And it was so sad. It was like breaking up with a group of friends, but they were just like, this is stupid. We want more action. And I was like, no, this is not my Star Wars. And I respect kind of the different branches of it, but I know where mine is.
Right.
And so the way that I've started thinking about it is there's Jedi lore fans and then there's Solo boys. And I'm sure there are other branches that are smaller. I think of it. Do you guys know Games Workshop and Warhammer and Warhammer 40K?
Only, nominally, not familiar with the lore, but
Well, it's not that. It's just the two types of fans of Warhammer and Warhammer 40K are the painters and the players. The people who like to paint the figurines and the people who like to play with the figurines. And those are just kind of general groups of the fandom. And then there's this one group, is this weird little group of guys who like to make terrain. They like to build terrain for the game board. And so like, I don't know who those people are for the Star Wars, like who the terrain builders are, but I'm sure they're out there.
Yeah. I feel like we kind of see that at Star Wars Celebration. I don't know if you've been, but you see people who are into really kind of obscure areas of fandom and stuff. And, God bless them. There's plenty of room for everyone. Yeah. And, we're glad people can get their obsessions out wherever it pleases them. So,
so my favorite parts are always the fan stages and collector stages where it's just like, oh, here's your thing. And it's,
I only went for... Sorry, I only went for one day this time. And I loved it. But my favorite part was the room that was full of droids that people had built.
Yeah.
Because I was just astonished by everything that they had done. And I think I told you, Pete, that I loved that Treadwell was better represented in that room than C-3PO. Like there was one 3PO model and like 3 Treadwells. That's so funny to me.
We like that too. Do you find, have you, as a Jedi lore aficionado, have you had to, I feel like every Star Wars fan has to wrestle with new stuff, contradicting your headcanon ideas. Have you encountered any ideas that you're like obviously you said you love The Last Jedi, but have you, in other things, have you found that you had to be like, I don't know if I agree with that part of it, or this part, I'm really glad it really expanded it, those lines.
I've had really good conversations with people about this. I had a conversation with someone who really wanted from the Kenobi show to see Obi-Wan kind of develop non-Jedi affection for someone, let's just say. And for me, that was like, no, that's off the table, because he's basically a monk. Like that's the way that I perceive him. And like that kind of thing to me is not sort of a fundamental disagreement between fans. It's more of just, that's not how I see him. That's not how I see Jedi behavior.
And I still talk to this person, which was an interesting.
I did stop being friends with someone who defended the prequels. I'll say that. But just the way she did it was anyway. And the sort of, I can never remember the line exactly, but the way that Yoda says hate leads to anger, anger leads to fear, fear leads to, and I'm like, that's nonsense. That's stupid. So there are little bits and pieces where I'm like, that doesn't fit into my conception of the universe. But I think that's true for every Star Wars fan. Yeah. That there are places in every, in this, 9 movies and whatever the hell, how many episodes, where there's stuff that doesn't quite fit what we love.
Yeah. And more and more so all the time. It's just like, well, there's so much stuff coming out that not all of it's going to be for you. But the good news is, there'll be another train in 10 minutes. So.
Oh, it's true. I mean, Kenobi was right up my alley, at least for the first 4 episodes. And Book of Boba Fett did almost nothing for me. So. Yeah.
It's interesting that you are both a fan of Jedi lore and not a fan of the prequels, because that's probably where we see the most Jedi stuff going on. You know what I mean? That's kind of where we finally see the Jedi Council and
Jedi lore. So like I know you were worried that I was gonna hang up or zone out, but I'm a fan of Jedi lore, but not. I don't like force creep. I don't like casual wizardry, and I don't like. Empty prophecies and stuff like that. I like the kind of codification of like the Jedi Order, that kind of a thing. It's interesting to me as a subject, but I also feel like it's a well that's been kind of we don't need it to be in every movie. Those are my points. I don't want to come off as somebody who hates Jedi. I love Jedi.
No, I read a thing in the Star Wars Minute group today that was like that you have some no lightsabers rule, and I was like, that's weird.
No, I would like one movie without lightsabers. That's all.
Okay, sorry, I misread what it was in the group.
We've come close twice at least, with the Rogue One was just like we almost made it, and then we had a lightsaber at the end, and same thing here in Solo. It's just like we came this close, and then Darth Maul had to like just call in with his lightsaber, and one of these days, that's all I just want, just one adventure that has nothing to do with Jedi or lightsabers, and also I'd be totally happy to watch an adventure that's like all Jedis and lightsabers, like show me exactly.
Only lightsabers.
Only lightsabers. No Jedi, just lightsabers. No characters. Maybe a droid can float through every once in a while, but
Nice. Yeah, I respect that.
Well, anything else for minute number 115, or anything else about Solo or the in general you care to elaborate on? Any of the other Lando or L337 or the Lair of the White Worm?
I really love, I'm sure everybody has said this, but I just love Donald Glover in this movie. I love him so much. And I feel like it was amazing. I went back and watched, I can't even remember what movie it was, but I watched a movie from the 90s that was extraordinarily well cast. Like everybody was in place. The whole thing was like, this is exactly who should be in this part. And when I watched movies from the 2010s, I was like, oh, that's the difference. They're just kind of not carefully cast. They're cast with who they think will sell tickets as opposed to who's actually right for the part. And to me, Donald Glover is like, that is a well-cast part. That's what that looks like.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
No.
Luckily, it's a good one foot in both worlds in a sense. And he's like, he's a name enough that people will be excited about it. And also he's perfect for this part.
Exactly. Yep.
Which is a good, I feel like 85-90% of the new Dune was kind of like that too, where they're like, well, we want the person that is good at this, but also there's a handful of people that's like, no, we just wanted the movie star for this. We just wanted the person.
I have a lot to say about Dune, but I agree with you. I don't think the casting was very sharp. I think it was okay.
It hits and it misses, but yes.
Which Dune are you guys talking about now? The new one or the old one? The new one.
Yes.
Okay.
And part of my problems with it could be that the old one is so ingrained in my mind that I'm just like, that's not that guy.
It doesn't look like Sting.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. One other thing I did want to tell you guys that I thought you would enjoy is the way that I watched the original trilogy. I was born in 1981. And when I was a kid, we had the trilogy taped on Betamax. And it was all like, I think it was all of them on one tape, or it was like, it would get halfway through Jedi and you'd have to switch tapes, I think. And so that was how I watched Star Wars again and again and again as a small child, was on Betamax.
Wow. Way into the 80s, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Nice. That's the way I said it several times. Yeah, that was my Betamax trilogy was Star Wars, the first half of the holiday special at Empire. And I had them, and because my parents didn't know that the holiday special could be 2 hours long, so they just set it to record for an hour. But yeah, and that was the thing. People would come over sometimes, I think, like because they wanted to watch Star Wars, not so much because they wanted to hang out with me. But it was definitely a thing.
I did have a friend who had the clamshell of The Little Mermaid, which I did go over to her house just to watch that.
Yeah. I'm not complaining. People came over, whatever. I remember.
Right. Whatever the carry you need to get them in the door.
I did. Somebody, I follow somebody on Twitter who lives kind of near me, and they tend to post a lot of things that they find at thrift stores and secondhand shops and stuff like that. And they posted a very nice looking, like, classic Betamax. And I was really tempted for a minute. It was like $65 or something like that. And I was like, oh,
that's
I'm not going to
so
use it
overpriced for a Betamax.
I don't know. I think it's come especially, but it's got the nice kind of clunky, chunky 70s buttons. It was a good, I don't know. It was tempting.
Were you about to say it's coming back? Because no, it's not.
No, I think it's got a little bit of a scarcity cachet now that it's anybody who had one threw it out a long time ago, and so now people like me who are just tempted by this nostalgia factor are unfortunately willing to pay for it. So I think they go for a little bit of not like high end money, but like more than. To me, $65 sounded like a good deal for a Betamax, but I didn't get it. So
see, but I feel like this Betamax is in there with the stuff that reasonably evolved out. Like the first time I heard of an 8-track, I was like, this sound quality sucks and it's very inconvenient. And so it evolved into being cassette tape, like reasonably so. The 8-track should disappear. And I feel like Betamax is like that.
Yeah.
I mean, even if VHS wasn't a superior format, clearly since then we've had DVD and 4K and all that stuff.
VHS
so
is not
it's
a superior format.
No, but I'm saying even if it wasn't it was beat by sheer numbers, just because.
Sure.
But like even if Betamax had won, it still would have been eclipsed by the newer things.
Right.
So, well, Katharine, thanks for joining us on the show. Anything else you want to plug before we wrap things up here?
My book, Plan 9 from Outer Space, it's a monograph on Plan 9 from Outer Space, and it is available anywhere you buy books. You can also email me and I will send you a signed copy. And if that doesn't interest you, that's fine. Just follow me on Twitter.
And what's your Twitter handle? My
Twitter handle is Ferrifrigida, FERRIFRIGIDA.
All right. And we will be
everybody
plugging
just read
it.
that on the YouTube.
Oh, yeah. There you go. And we'll be plugging it on our Twitter, so you can always find our Twitter at Star Wars Minute, and we'll be.
I like that ultimatum though. Like if the idea of the Plan 9 book doesn't interest you, then you just have to follow her on Twitter. It's either or.
It's one or the other.
Yeah.
So
I'm funny.
Well, today we mentioned Kryptonite and we mentioned the Fonz, which reminds me that over on our Patreon, we've started our recent Star Wars Minute Weekend Review, where every week we discuss a different pop culture piece of junk. We talked about Superman 3. We talked about the Happy Days pilot and more. So go to StarWarsMinute.com/Patreon and you can listen to us talk about that and plenty of other things, some of it even Star Wars related. And we hope you will join us next week for another brand new Star Wars Minute.
Star Wars Minute.
Star Wars Minute.